I would say in the case of a short story, it should be pretty polished. It should be pretty polished. We got everything from, you know, really well done and well polished and well formatted. We got some really rough submissions too. You want some eyes on it, even if you're not paying for editing at this point, because we do the final editing. You do need to do some editing at this point. You need to make sure that this is a clean manuscript. Have some people read it for you. Get some beta readers on it and give you some feedback. Formatting it's really important to read the submission guidelines when you're submitting to an open submission to make sure you know what they're looking for. You know, if we get a submission, we request certain formats. If we get something that's not in that format, we'll say, can you please send us in this? We're trying to be very gracious at this point, but some people are not very gracious, and it will get kicked right back to you. So be sure to read the submission guidelines before you submit to someone.
Hey, it's Writers Row, where we talk about the writing community on Twitter. We talk about the business side of writing and the creative side of writing. I am DC Wright-Hammer, one of your hosts. I am the author of the Between Two Minds series, which are sci-fi thrillers available on Wright-Hammer.com and Amazon.com. And I'm joined, as always, by the other host of the show,
David Gane, and I am the co-writer of the Shepherd and Wolf mystery series. And you can find all about us on kunosandgane.com. And we have someone else with us today.
Hi, I'm Deidre Owen. I am author and illustrator of a number of children's books. There is the Heaven Dew series. It's a series of picture books. We're All Just People series. It's some early chapter books. I have several of my new Mannison, I'm nervous, you guys. Oh my goodness, the Mannison mini books. They're short stories, and I am co-founder and designer at Mannison Press.
Wow, you are busy.
I am busy.
And you got people watching should be busy like Deidre and subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up for this video. We appreciate that. And definitely comment down below. Questions, comments. We appreciate all that. So make sure you do that for us, please. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. What are we talking about this week, you two?
Well, I think we're here to talk about anthologies, yes?
Yeah, I got really excited. So Deidre reached out. She has an anthology coming out with the small press that she helps to run. And I thought it'd be a good idea. I don't know a ton about anthologies. And so I wanted to bring her on to talk about that. I think I often see that even on Twitter, people will have credits for things that they've written for anthologies. You know, there's one like 13 Spooky Stories. I saw that one that's been running around, Autumn Nights, I think it is, with some of our friends who published in that. I think there's another anthology coming out from another small press that we did like a month and a half ago, 6 weeks ago, that they have an anthology coming out. They're actually using that to raise money for a cause. And so when Deidre approached me, I'm like, you know what, it's probably time that I actually figure out what an anthology is. And so we wanted to bring on someone who knows about it, who's producing one, publishing one, and kind of learn from somebody who knows. So
then I want to ask the question right away. What is an anthology? Because I'm kind of curious.
It's been a learning process for me too. You know, the learning curve in the entire publishing industry and just being an author, the learning curve is enormous. But I've been learning a lot myself, and it's really, I've absolutely loved it. An anthology is, just the best of my understanding, it's a collection of stories. It's you know, short stories. It can be a collection from a bunch of different authors. That's what I've been working with Mannison Press. Our new anthology is a collection from different authors. You can have a collection from the same author. Sometimes they're on theme. Ours is on theme. Sometimes it's just a collection of short stories by an individual. They can be expansive, or they can be small. We have a new anthology working with in our mini book line. So we have a little bitty anthology coming out in a few months. That is, let's see, that's by Eric Lewis, and that'll be coming out probably early next year. So it can be little, it can be big. Just have fun with it. We've been really having fun with it. This is the one you might have heard about it. At least I hope you would. It's Little Girl Lost, 13 Tales of Youth Disrupted, and that is
Can you, what is that one? Is there a certain theme around that one?
Yes, yes, it is about youth disrupted, 13 Tales of Youth Disrupted. So we have all different situations where the protagonists are young girls, and you have instances, you have losses of innocence, of people, of hope. There's adventure. We have all multi-genre. We have horror. We have science fiction. There's a little bit of fantasy in there. So we kind of cover a broad base of speculative fiction.
I actually really like that notion when you're coming into the anthology, not only just because I've always known it as, a collection of different authors, short stories being in the book, but I also like the idea that you're getting different tones and genres and stuff like that, because you never really know what you're going to get when you finish one story and turn the page to the next, right?
Yeah, well, the way this one was born was really fun. I was working with my now partner, Ronald Linson, and at the time we had collaborated together on a short story, and we were acting as critique partners. I had sent him one of my short stories. It was a ghost story. And just a couple months later, he says, "Hey, I have a short story. Can you read it?" And it was just kind of a little spooky story. And then he realized that both of the stories featured a young girl who was lost in one way or another. And he said, "I have an idea. What do you think of this?" And that's where the idea of the anthology was born. So it can come
And
from.
is that also where you guys started working together?
Yeah, I mean, we had the short story we had written, Overworked, which is a legal fiction, just a little short story. That's now one of our Mannison mini books. But from that collaboration, we had other ideas for a children's series, because that's why he initially approached me, because of my work in children's books. And as we're working on this, just random short stories, and this quickly overshadowed everything else. We're like, if we're going to be bringing in other people, we need to make this legit. So we made an LLC and developed our imprint, our brand, and it's kind of like I went for a walk one day, and my head was down, and I'm walking along, and I look up, and suddenly I'm in the Grand Canyon. Where am I? It can really blow up on you fast.
So both of your stories are in the anthology. Is that okay? And you approached other authors to write, or did you have other authors that you knew were already writing something similar, or how did that process go?
We did approach one individual specifically. Ron wanted to reach out to Pierce Anthony, and he agreed. He liked the idea, and he wrote an original story for our anthology. And that was a really big moment. That's really exciting to have Pierce Anthony in our story. And then after that, we decided to just open submissions. And we took submissions for several months. And that was an incredible process. Absolutely loved getting so many submissions. We read so many great stories. It was really hard to narrow it down. In fact, some of the stories that didn't make it into the book are going to be coming out as mini books in the future. It also set us up for the companion volume that we're going to open submissions for in December for Little Boy Lost.
Wow. So I know you already said this. How many are in the anthology?
In this one, there are 13.
Okay.
13 tales. We're not going to limit ourselves for Little Boy Lost, which is going to be more tales. We found it really hard because we boxed ourselves in with 13, and that made it really hard to make some decisions. So next time we're not going to box ourselves in.
And how many submissions did you get, would you say, on average?
I want to say it was somewhere around 160 or 170 submissions.
Wow.
Yeah, we were busy. That was a very busy few months. We did a lot of reading and a lot of discussing. It was a lot of fun.
Did you both read each story together, or
Yes.
like, I'm curious about the process of building this anthology together?
Yeah, we had all these little spreadsheets, and they were all done by batched off by week. So every week we would read the stories, and toward the end of the week we would go in and we would put in our little vote. And anything that got a yes vote from both of us kind of got set aside for further consideration. So every week we went through this process. Some weeks were a little thin. We only got a few, but some weeks we got 25 submissions in a week. So it was a very busy week. And that process seemed to work really well. We'll probably go with a similar process for the next one. And laying that groundwork early gave us the framework to approach the next one with everything in place. So the next one will go much more smoothly. Like I said, the learning curve was enormous going into this project.
And then what is the process for you guys moving it to publishing? Because you're a small press, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are. We're publishing through KDP and through Smashwords. So we have on 2 different platforms. We will have print and ebooks available. Well, I showed you the print book already. And the nice thing was coming into this, Ron and I both bring skills to the table. You know, having already published a bunch of my own books, I was already familiar with the idea of design and format. I do all my own cover art, and I did illustrations. We have one of the volumes is going to be illustrated. I did an illustration for each story. So I lost my train of thought. What was the question?
Going
Yeah,
to
just the process of publishing.
Right.
You went with KDP and Smashwords. Then is it? So that I guess covers your printing and everything, and then marketing wise, how do you approach that?
Marketing wise, we're still feeling it out. Again, with my experience in graphics, I'm able to build all my own ads. You know, we just blast them out on social media. Right now, we're tracking down some book bloggers and some people to send out some advanced reading copies. And we just kind of go from there.
And I was going to actually ask, how did you approach editing on these anthologies?
That's an excellent question. Fortunately, Ron is an editor. He was already working as a freelance editor, freelance and doing some work for Crossroads Press. So he just kind of instantly came into it as our editor-in-chief. We had an editor, and we have a designer, so it all just fell together very nicely. So he edits, and then he'll send it to me, and I'll do one little final read through his second eyes to make sure that nothing, just the little things. So it's all very cooperative.
And I want to jump in, David.
I know. I was like, I'm monopolizing this, aren't I?
It's all right. So I've got a lot of questions, but I'll start with, so you got a ton of submissions, and so it's very interesting to me. That means that like a lot of authors, I'm guessing many of them or most of them are independent or not published. Would you say that that's accurate?
Well, we definitely got some newer authors, but I think there are some that came in through that also were very well established. We would read the bios. They would always come with a little bio. And we actually had some people with some very solid presence writing in as well, which was exciting.
Okay. And so what would you say is attractive to authors of any experience getting a story published in an anthology? What would you say if you had to like sort of pitch it and say, here's why you should do anthologies? How would you respond to that?
I think the process is different from publishing on your own. You're cooperating with other people, especially when it's on theme. I think there's that excitement of getting the full book and seeing all the other stories that are alongside you, being published with you. I know that one of our authors had kind of a virtual hyperventilation when he found out he was being published alongside Pierce Anthony. So that was kind of fun, being able to, tell our authors that he was going to be in the book. I think it's just good exposure too, because everyone will have their own bio. Anybody who has a website, we'll make sure we include the website. So it kind of gives the authors that extra exposure. Plus, having 13 of us in one volume, that's 13 people marketing the book, which gives you a much broader exposure as well.
And how have you found that process? I'm just out of curiosity, do you find everyone kind of steps in that way? Have you ever had negative experiences? I'm not saying that you need to call anyone out, but
There have not been any negative experiences so far, so fortunately, yay for that. There are some who are more active than others. We have a couple of our authors who don't really have much of a social media presence, but a couple of them do, and they're very active. They're constantly sharing ads and pushing things out, and one of them had a great idea today that I'm like, I like this, I'm going to run with this, and if you don't mind, I'm going to steal your little idea and use that for promotions. So there is kind of a collaborative effort there too, and some of the connections that I've made, it's everyone's been very forthcoming, very helpful, getting good feedback going both ways with the editing, with the illustrating. So it's really neat to see the cooperation, everyone coming together.
And I was gonna ask kind of the next step there then. So I'm friends. I myself am an independent author, and I'm friends with a lot of independent authors, and so I retain full rights to the works that I publish. But I'm guessing this anthology through a small press is a little different. Can you talk through how the rights work? With you've got all these different authors that are being published, and so what does that look like?
In this particular volume, none of the stories are reprints. We had considered that an option if anyone sent in a story. We did get some submissions that were reprints, and we would consider that in the future. So we have to make sure in those instances that anytime we're doing a reprint, that those rights have reverted back to the author. You want to make sure that everything's on the up and up. In this case, I had to pull up my contract. I don't have that available. I have to pull it, but I want to say we have first rights for a period of months.
Okay.
I forget, 12, 18, 24. I don't remember how many months it is, but there we do get first rights for a period of time. After which time, we have a couple different formats of contracts we've worked up for the mini books, the anthologies. Sometimes the rights will just revert back to the author after a certain amount of time, unless the book's doing well. Then we have we reserve the right to republish for another year. So it's all in the contract. We made sure that our contracts were very clear. We did a lot of research when we drafted our contracts for the anthologies, for mini books, for other publications that we'll be doing in the future. But that is always a consideration. We make sure that that's very clear in any contracts that we write up.
And then how does, I'm curious, how does Pavement work on an anthology?
On an anthology for this one, what we did is we offered pay by cents per word. So however many words is in, I think this one worked out to 2 cents a word. We did run an Indiegogo campaign to help fund paying our authors. We are a brand new operation, so we're really operating on a shoestring right now. Plus setting up the LLC and all that. There was a hefty investment for up front. So for this one, the Indiegogo campaign allowed us to pay our authors 2 cents a word and help fulfill some of our the perks that came with the Indiegogo campaign. And so that's how this one worked. After that, just the proceeds go back into recouping losses, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the mini books, it's a little different model. For the mini books, we do offer a royalty, and I think the first rights of publication run for a year, after which we assess how the sales have been doing, and then either we revert rights back to the author or we renew for another year, and they get a percentage of the royalties, and those would be paid quarterly.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. And I wanted to actually go way back to the first part. How did you actually find, or how did people find out about the anthology? Because you said you had so many submissions.
We did.
I'm curious, how did they find out about it?
Ron went onto, there are websites that you can submit your open submissions calls to, and people will hit up these websites and find out who's accepting submissions right now. I can't think of a single one right now off the top of my head, but that really brought us in a lot of submissions going.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And is this something he's worked in before that he kind of knew that kind of stuff, or is it he's just?
I think some, yes, he does have a number of short stories of his own that have been published in various places online. A lot of them are available for free, but he's no stranger to the submission process. So I think he was already aware of some of these things, and he's pretty proactive. He'll go out and he'll search stuff. He'll look online. He'll hit the groups. So, you know, he puts out feelers. He's better at that than I am.
That's awesome. Sorry, DC, I keep interrupting you. I should let you ask your questions.
No, you're doing a great job. I actually have tangential questions anyway, because it's very similar to we interviewed Gestalt Media, which is another small press before, and so now interviewing you, seeing that you did Indiegogo, I don't want to totally derail the conversation, but that is, for people who don't know, that's a site where you can do crowdfunding. Is that an accurate? That it's
Yes.
crowdfunding,
Correct.
and it's no secret that we've actually had some controversy when we cover crowdfunding on this show. That some people are not open to the idea, and so I think it's very interesting that you've gone a similar route, and I think I just want to take another opportunity to have someone else say, like, so why did you go the Indiegogo route? What's the benefits of doing that? And how was how successful do you think it was being able to do that? I mean, you talked about recouping costs, you talked about initial investments and things like that. And so how did Indiegogo play into that, if you don't mind talking for just a moment?
Oh, no, not at all. In the beginning, we were funding it out of our own pockets, and we're thinking, how are we going to fund costs for, you know, just the various costs of production, right? So we did our research and we looked at the various platforms that do offer crowdfunding campaigns. You hear about Kickstarter and some of the other big ones. The reason we went with Indiegogo is a good number of those crowdfunding platforms, if you don't reach your goal, you don't get your money. So you could do all the work and all the promoting, and people, they kick in and all this stuff. And then if you miss your goal, if you fall short, it all goes bad. It was all for naught. Indiegogo has a minimum amount you have to reach, but as long as you make that minimum amount, anything beyond that you get, even if it doesn't reach your goal. So our goal was $1,500, and we only raised, I want to say it was about $850, and we still got that. And that was a just tremendous blessing on this project, because we wouldn't be able to do it. We wouldn't be able to move forward with it. It would have been very difficult to move forward with this without that little bit of funding coming in.
And so for people who, I just want to translate that, there are 13 stories that are going to be published to the world from authors who worked really hard in a small press that worked really hard, and it likely would not have been possible if they didn't go this crowdfunding route. And so, again, it might end up in some downvotes for this video, because there are some people who just don't. Like I said, I give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't understand it, but I think it's an option. And I've admitted I've never crowdfunded myself, but the idea, the concept, it's another avenue for revenue in order for you to do projects like this. And so I just wanted to spend a couple minutes in this episode mentioning that, because I think it's pretty interesting. So I appreciate you.
One of the big things that we wanted to make sure we could do is pay our authors. This wasn't about putting it in our pockets. We wanted to pay our authors. We really, I mean, 2 cents a word is very humble. That's a very humble offering, but we wanted to give them something, and most of that is going back to our authors and to fulfill the perks that were offered through the campaign. So that is not going into our pockets.
Right.
That's awesome. Do you have any more questions about crowdfunding, DC?
Go ahead, David.
No.
No. So I think it's we keep hitting on it, because it's not a scam. People have equated it to a scam, and it's not. And we've all done this. We've all tried to sell our own books. We've all tried to sell physical copies of hard work that are quality based on the feedback we've gotten. So we know that they're decent books that we're putting out there, and that's hard enough by itself. Crowdfunding is you're not even selling a product, you're selling the idea of a product. And so I keep coming back to it on episodes. Yeah, maybe I'm a little salty from the pushback we've got. I can admit that. But when I keep hearing people say that they've had success with it, or it's given them an opportunity where opportunity might not have been otherwise, I just want to emphasize that. Because we all, like, there's no golden path to publishing, right? And I think one of the things we're learning in this episode is that an anthology actually gives you an option where you don't have to go through and write a whole manuscript that's X number, hundreds of pages long. You can write a short story and contribute, and that could be a stepping stone, or maybe that is all you ever do as an author, but you can at least say you got your work out there. And there's so many barriers that I've run into as an independent author to getting my work out there in a timely manner, in an effective manner, in a way that I can get it in as many people's hands as possible. And so when someone brings up crowdfunding, like, I'm going to push back on that. Like, I have a platform to do that, and I do that in a way that says I want as many people to get their work out there as possible. Like I said, I haven't done the crowdfunding myself, but I appreciate the idea. I appreciate the concept because, like I said, 13 stories are in the world now. They're going to be in the world when this gets released, and that's cool. That's really awesome. So, hats off to Deidre and Ron for thinking outside the box and going that route. So I do appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited. We love short stories. We love the idea of doing an anthology, doing another one, probably another one. And our mini books are short stories. Did you see the mini books? They're short stories. Where are they?
She's got them.
See, I got them. See, they're little bitty. They're mini books.
Beautiful. And those are through KDP too.
Yep, these are through KDP.
And you guys handle the editing, the design, and all that, and you work that all out in the contract and the rights and everything like that. And it saves some people the trouble of having to do everything themselves, find their own editors, find their own designers, find all that. So that's true for the anthology. That's true for the short stories as well.
Right. Yes.
I really want to come back to these mini books really quickly. How many words per book? Like what's the word count about?
We established a minimum of about 5,000. Anything smaller than that, and it's just too small. Like this one here was about just under 5,000, and this one was just under 5,000. And then some of the larger ones, this is like a little mini anthology. This has, how many stories are in this one? I don't know. I can't count. And this one was about 16.5. I think we decided we could probably go up to about 20,000 words in one of the little mini books.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a single sitting read. I love the mini books. I love short stories. I think it's really great where you throw it in your purse, you go to the doctor's office, you got something to read while you're waiting. I like short stories. It's a fantastic format, and people are short on time these days, right?
Absolutely. And are you finding that the mini books, the physical books, are popular compared to digital reading of it?
We only just launched. They only just launched a few weeks ago, so that all kind of remains to be seen. The first 5 were there's a few by me, a few by Ron, and then we have about 6 more that are coming out by other authors. I've been working on the cover art. He's been working on the editing. It's going really well. So remains to be seen, but we really hope that people start discovering them because they're really fun. They're really fun. And don't let their diminutive size fool you. Some of them pack a punch.
There you go. If there's if there are authors out there or writers out there that think that they have a good story or they're close to finishing a good short story or something like that, what would the process, like what should they have ready if they wanted to approach a small press like yourself to be either included in an anthology or maybe in a mini book or something like that? Where should they be in the process before they reach out to a small press like you run?
I would say in the case of a short story, it should be pretty polished. It should be pretty polished. We got everything from, you know, really well done and well polished and well formatted. We got some really rough submissions too. You want some eyes on it. Even if you're not paying for editing at this point, because we do the final editing. You do need to do some editing at this point. You need to make sure that this is a clean manuscript. Have some people read it for you. Get some beta readers on it and give you some feedback. Formatting it's really important to read the submission guidelines when you're submitting to an open submission to make sure you know what they're looking for. You know, if we get a submission, we request certain formats. If we get something that's not in that format, we'll say, can you please send us in this? We're trying to be very gracious at this point, but some people are not very gracious, and it will get kicked right back to you. So be sure to read the submission guidelines before you submit to someone.
Awesome. And I do want to just kind of reiterate, when can we start getting these books?
Well, 5 of the mini books are now available. Little Girl Lost is coming out October 15th. We are imminently going to be opening pre-orders on KDP and Smashwords, just doing a few tweaks on that. What else is going on? Little Boy Lost submissions will be opening December 1st. We'll be making that announcement officially in late October. Yeah, so that's where we are at the moment.
And where does someone go to find out all about the submissions?
Right now, submissions are closed for the moment. We're swamped between Little Girl Lost, Little Boy Lost, the new mini books that we're working up now. We're hoping that once we get our feet under us here, we'll be able to open submissions for some more mini books, because that is fantastic. You can hit our website at MannisonPress.com. We're active on Twitter. We have a Facebook page.
Put a description down below.
And the mini books are available on Amazon and Smashwords.
Awesome. DC, any other questions?
No, I really appreciate it. I think you know, like I was saying before, if you got work out there and you want to get it out in the world, you should find a way to do it. And you know, especially with short stories and things like that, having an option like a small press, or having, you know, not having to do everything yourself, having professionals who can handle some of the things for you and working with them. No, I think that's really great. So I really appreciate you coming on. Let's shift gears. We've been kind of talking about your anthology. We're going to officially shift gears into the promotional phase. So give one last pitch for your anthologies, and you can throw your mini books in there if you want as well. So go ahead.
Fabulous. This is Little Girl Lost. You can see my notes here. This is still a proof version of it. But it's going to be coming out October 15th through Mannison Press. You can hit our website for more information. And we have our mini books are now available. It is the perfect single sitting read. There's 5 of them available now. We have about a half a dozen that are going to be coming out again soon. Again, you can hit Mannison Press or Amazon to check those out.
That's awesome. How about you, DC? What do you have?
I don't push my second book as much as I should, but I'm going to make a push for it. Between Two Minds Revelation. It is the sequel to Between Two Minds Awakening. Really, that book, I think I made leaps and bounds as a writer in it. I think the story is as compelling as the first one, but in book 2, I think my writing improved quite a bit. So if you have read book 1 and you're just kind of waiting around, pick up book 2. It's available on Wright-Hammer.com, and I've got promo code Carter for $5 off your first purchase. So if you haven't ordered from me in the past, you can get $5 off. It basically is like free shipping is what it ends up being. So you end up just paying for the book. It's also available on Amazon.com as well, so you can pick it up there. So
nice. And that's just for the States, though, right? The free shipping?
So from Wright-Hammer.com, yes, that would be, if you use that promo code, it's just $5 off. And that equates to free shipping in the States. If it's international shipping, it's not quite free because that's expensive. So, so yeah, might be cheaper to order on Amazon in that case. But either way, pick it up. I'm really excited about book 2. It's been out for almost a year, and it's getting some good reviews. So appreciate that.
And I'm not going to do a plug this week, but I do want to just do a shout out actually to our writing community. This last week, I lost my pup, and I'm a little sad as I'm saying this. And anyways, the writing community was really wonderful. Lots of kind words, and I really, really appreciated it. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you once again. And that's it for me, so let's move along.
There you go. All right, yeah, David. Yeah, sorry to hear about that, but we rallied around you. We appreciate you know, we got your back. So
okay.
and
thank you very much, Deidre, for coming on the show. I'm trying to not like bring this show down. So
we're gonna bring it down. So we appreciate everybody watching to this point. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you very much. Bye.